Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, our mission really is to peel back that sort of mystical veil. We're exploring the infrastructure, the hidden stuff that makes modern magical life even possible. We're talking about this hidden, physical, and frankly, highly fragile web that supports every single instant cross-realm communication you rely on. I mean, think about it, right? You want to send some complex message, maybe a, multi-layered scrying signal from way over in the Western fiefdoms to an ally, maybe in the Elven citadels. You hit send, and poof, it's just there. The story we usually tell ourselves is that's all pure ethereal magic, right? Some kind of mystical ether just carrying it along.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating, I think, is how totally divorced that idea is from the physical reality of it. Our deep dive into how this all actually works, the communications architecture, it shows that the speed, the reliability, it doesn't depend on just like a thought spell. It depends on a massive, intricate, and pretty much invisible web of actual physical crystalline connections and ancient, heavy cables. Cables, we call them the unseen conduits of light. They're the literal, robust backbone connecting basically every major point in the magical world. Wizards' towers, dwarven strongholds, those remote elven places. This whole global system, it's grounded in, physical engineering. Ancient, yes, but engineering nonetheless.
Okay, hold on. Let's unpack this because, that changes everything about how we think about our magical world. We talk about instant enchantments, but you're saying the connection isn't ethereal at all. It was painstakingly built by ancient artificers. This isn't just like a theory.
Right.
It's real, tangible.
That's the core of it, yes. It's what some of our sources call the illusion of ethereal magic. I mean, sure, the energy pulsing through these conduits is definitely magical, ethereal energy. But the conduits themselves, they're metal, crystal, enchanted fiber. So behind every perfect scrying session you have, every instant spell component transfer, there's this tangled, complex reality. Glowing cables, pulsing conduits, often buried really deep, beneath that mystical veil everyone imagines.
Right. So if this conventional cloud of pure thought is actually more like a crystal data center, what does the basic structure look like? How's it laid out?
Well, it's structure built on structure, really. These magical pathways, they pulse with that ethereal energy, like we said, but the energy needs a container, a physical one. Documents we looked at, things concerning the hidden infrastructure, they detail how these pathways are physically woven through ancient forests, laid beneath mystical seas. So we've basically replaced the mystery of the ether with the, frankly, remarkable complexity of a physical engineered network.
Wow.
And this network, it's proving way more intricate than any single wizard spell and definitely more vital to, say, commerce than any dragon's hoard.
And if we follow that physical backbone you mentioned beneath the seas, that journey takes us straight out of the forests and into the water.
Mm-hmm.
That has to be where the network faces its biggest challenges, right? The most fragility.
Oh, without a doubt. If you want to talk about realm stability, the submarine superhighways, as they're called, they represent the single most critical but also the most vulnerable part of the whole system.
Okay, tell me about these deep-sea mystical arteries. They sound pretty formidable.
They are massive, colossal, really. We're talking enchanted fiber cables. One artisan's note actually described them as being thicker than a sea serpent's tail.
Whoa.
Yeah. And these aren't just, enchanted wires. They're complex, magical composites. They're infused with things like dragon scales for incredible durability.
Dragon scales.
Seriously, dragon scales. And specialized mermaid glass for optical purity. That's to make sure the ethereal signal travels at maximum speed. And these vital lifelines, they snake for thousands, literally thousands of leagues across really treacherous mystical ocean floors, linking entire continents.
I can barely even imagine the effort just to lay these things down there, let alone maintain them. What kind of magical engineering are we talking about dealing with those depths and pressures?
Oh, the engineering is, extraordinary. But what makes them truly fragile? It's the inhabitants, the things living down there.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's not just about the crushing pressure or, magical corrosion. The environment is actively hostile in a way that mundane engineers could only have nightmares about. You have to worry about territorial water elementals, for instance. And deployment means sailing right through hostile kraken territories.
Wait, hang on. You mean downtime isn't because, a power relay blew, but because a kraken decided to, redecorate its lair with a data cable?
Pretty much exactly that, yes. And the sources, they specifically highlight the absolute worst maintenance risk, localized catastrophic damage from sea dragon bites.
sea dragon bites. Okay.
Think about it. You build the most robust, heavily enchanted system imaginable, right? And then you have a creature whose teeth are basically impervious to almost anything short of top-tier runic defenses, and it decides to have a little snack on your main continental data link.
Okay, that puts a whole different spin on network security, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So if a sea dragon does take a bite, who on Earth gets sent down to fix that? Because that sounds like a suicide mission.
Which is why you need specialized defense and repair systems. The sources describe these dedicated, enchanted repair ships. And these aren't just, little tugboats. They're often crewed by highly specialized water-breathing wizards. They are genuinely the unsung heroes of magical connectivity.
Wow.
They constantly have to brave these mythological threats, sometimes literally fighting off sea beasts just to patch a cable and keep your instant message flowing.
That's incredible.
It's this unbelievable logistical and combat effort, and it really underscores just how fragile this supposedly seamless connectivity actually is.
So the moment some sea dragon gets peckish and decides to chew on that dragon scale cable, an entire continent could just go dark.
Potentially, yes. Or at least suffer major disruptions.
It makes you realize that every single perfect video scry you make depends on some wizard fighting for their life in a magically pressurized diving suit.
It demands constant vigilance. But okay, let's follow the signal. Assuming the cable doesn't get chewed on, what happens when it finally makes landfall?
Yes. Okay, the data sprite successfully dodged the kraken, survived the repair efforts. Now we're tracing the journey from that deep-sea superhighway onto dry land. Where does the data actually land?
Well, the transition point is fascinating. The cables surface at these places called Enchanted Shores. They immediately connect into massive, highly secure crystal data sanctuaries and also these magical peering groves.
Peering Grove.
Yeah, think of them like magical network access points. These sanctuaries and groves, they're basically the nexus points where all that trans-oceanic traffic meets the terrestrial grid. These places function a lot like the bustling internet exchange towers you might imagine in the big wizard cities. They're hubs of intense magical commerce and data transfer, and they have to be highly secured, obviously, because of the sheer volume of critical information flowing through them.
Okay, so once that massive data capacity hits the sanctuary and gets sorted, how does that information then get routed across the kingdoms? You mentioned these magical packets earlier. Data sprites. What are they like functionally?
Good question. Yeah, a data sprite is essentially a tiny, highly compressed magical entity. It carries an encrypted packet of information, maybe a single thought, a few lines of script, or perhaps a small piece of a larger illusion. So from those big crystal hubs, these sprites transition off the main oceanic cable and onto local fiber optic ley lines.
Lead lines, like the energy lines.
Exactly, but these are specifically constructed like miniature fiber optic channels. They're often subterranean, harnessing and redirecting natural earth energy, but in a controlled way. They run beneath cobblestone streets, sometimes even through castle walls, channeling that ethereal energy right through the heart of a city and out into the local neighborhoods.
And that gets us down to the final mile, right? The moment of truth that delivers that little data sprite right into your personal home or wizard tower.
Exactly that. The connection finally reaches your dwelling through either enchanted copper wires, more common in older districts, or these specialized fairy light cables.
Fairy light cables.
Yeah, they're thin, very high-speed magical conductors. The key takeaway here, though, is just the remarkable complexity of it all. You go from dragon-scale cables deep under the waves to crystal sanctuaries on shore, down to localized fiber ley lines under the street, and then finally into your personal dwelling via fairy light. That instantaneous communication you experience, it relies on that entire intricate chain holding together second by second.
Which brings us squarely back to the risks, the serious, ever-present risks. Because this system, even layered with robust enchantments protected by, water-breathing wizards, it sounds fundamentally vulnerable.
It absolutely is, and this raises a really important question. If the system is so complex and it needs such specialized, dangerous maintenance, what are the main threats that can actually take down large chunks of the network? And are they always, natural accidents?
Well, our sources make it terrifyingly clear that the dangers are often actively malicious, strategic even. We're talking about sophisticated threats, things like natural disasters, earthquakes, storms, but specifically summoned by dark sorcerers to target known network junction points.
Ooh.
Yeah. And then there are direct dragon attacks on the above-ground conduits. Not just sea dragons now, but territorial land dragons disrupting major land routes.
But maybe the most, unsettling vulnerability is the geopolitical one. When kingdoms go to war, this magical infrastructure, it becomes a target, a weapon.
You mean intentional sabotage?
Exactly. Geopolitical tensions between warring kingdoms can lead and have led to the intentional disruption or even the outright severing of vital magical connections, plunging an entire region into communicative darkness not through some accident or monster attack, but as a calculated act of war.
So if a rival kingdom decides to just cut the lead lines running under their capital,
Yeah.
what's the counter strategy? This sounds like he needs a level of vigilance, of defense we usually only associate with, like, military strongholds.
It absolutely does, which is why these guardian networks are so essential. You have constant monitoring performed by scrying mages who basically act like network operations center staff. They're looking for the faintest ripple, the slightest disturbance in the magical flow 24/7, and they work directly with rapid response teams of cable repair wizards.
The same ones fighting sea dragons.
Sometimes, or specialized land-based teams. They're on standby, ready to deploy instantly to mend a line, whether it's damaged by a rock slide or actively under siege by hostile forces.
Wow. So the strategy isn't just about building bigger walls, metaphorically speaking.
No, not just bigger defenses, it's resilience through redundancy. The Council of Artificers, the body that kind of oversees this whole operation, they focus heavily on redundancy spells and also on establishing international guild collaborations, making sure multiple pathways exist between major centers. They have to constantly plan for failure.
Because the survival and commerce of the entire interconnected world depends on it.
Completely. Depends entirely on that uptime.
The scale of the threat, both natural and political, it truly emphasizes the fragility of this global connectivity we take for granted. Every single communication represents a successful navigation of environmental hazards, mythological monsters, and potential political sabotage. So what does this constant demand for resilience mean for the future? Where does it go from here?
Well, the pressure to evolve is just immense. Our magical demands as a civilization, they're skyrocketing, right? New spells, more complex enchantments, things like holographic scrying illusions. They all require bandwidth and speed that the, frankly, ancient crystal and copper systems are really beginning to strain under.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting, looking at the bleeding edge, the next-gen tech. They're moving way beyond just crystal fiber now. I saw mention crystalline fiber optics infused with phoenix feathers. What does that even mean, technologically speaking?
It means higher performance, obviously, but also much better durability. The phoenix feather infusion allows the crystalline fiber to actually self-regenerate minor magical or physical damage instantly.
Self-healing cables.
Sort of, yeah. It drastically reduces the need for constant minor repairs. It's an organic defense system built right into the material itself. Pretty amazing stuff. And beyond just better materials, the real cutting edge is exploring completely new concepts. Things like using stabilized dimensional portals for high-speed, long-distance data transfer.
Whoa, portals for data.
Potentially bypassing the need for thousands of miles of physical cable entirely, at least for the critical trunk lines between continents.
That's a whole different level of architecture. And the methods for actually deploying this new tech, they sound just as innovative. You mentioned they aren't just relying on ground crews anymore.
That's right. Artificers and magical engineers are really pushing the boundaries on deployment. They're using things like flying griffins to quickly lay aerial lines over tricky mountain ranges.
Makes sense.
And even burrowing elementals to help install new subterranean fiber in deep, treacherous terrain where no human or dwarf engineer could possibly work safely.
This really paints a picture, doesn't it? This isn't some static system built ages ago and left alone. It's a living, breathing, constantly upgraded magical network, powered by the absolute highest levels of craftsmanship and magical innovation.
Absolutely. So if we were to synthesize this whole deep dive, the convenience, that instantaneous speed you experience when you use your enchanted device, your scrying mirror, whatever, it hides this incredible continuous physical and magical maintenance effort. It's a constant battle against, yes, mythological threats, sea dragons, krakens, but also very real geopolitical ones from warring kingdoms. The seamlessness you experience, honestly, it's a kind of daily miracle, achieved only through ceaseless vigilance and incredible ingenuity.
So just to bring it home for everyone listening, you now understand that your ability to send that quick scrying message, check the magical market prices, whatever it is, It relied on ancient cables reinforced with actual dragon scales, and on specialized water-breathing cable repair wizards risking their lives literally every single day under hostile seas. It
Yeah.
requires more planning, more active defense than most major military campaigns.
Right. And given that critical reliance, that dependence on these hidden conduits which are inherently fragile
Yeah.
because they face threats from both the magical and the mundane world, what unforeseen crisis, you have to wonder, is currently brewing? Maybe a new type of dark sorcery we haven't accounted for, or perhaps a political alliance that suddenly goes sour. What's brewing right now, maybe in the deepest parts of the realm or the darkest corners of a rival kingdom's strategy room, that could plunge an entire kingdom, maybe more, into communicative darkness?
Chilling thought.
It's a question we, and certainly the Council of Artificers, should be asking ourselves constantly.